Greetings and welcome to the United States Transhumanist Party Virtual Enlightenment Salon. My name is Gennady Stolyarov II, and I am the chairman of the U.S. Transhumanist Party. Here we hold conversations with some of the world's leading thinkers in longevity, science, technology, philosophy, and politics. Like the philosophers of the Age of Enlightenment, we aim to connect every field of human endeavor and arrive at new insights to achieve longer lives, greater rationality, and the progress of our civilization. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our U.S. Transhumanist Party Virtual Enlightenment Salon of January 8th, 2023. We are pleased to be here with you today to showcase the work of a young Nigerian inventor named Nonso Nolly. We are going to hopefully have Nonso joining us from Nigeria shortly. He has a bit of a connection issue that we are working through. In the meantime, I would like to introduce our distinguished panel of U.S. Transhumanist Party officers, including our Director of Visual Art, Art Ramon Garcia, our Director of Applied Innovation, David Shoemaker, our Director of Publication, Zach Richardson, our Director of Longevity Outreach, Ben Ballweg, our Director of Scholarship, Dan Elton, and our Legislative Director, Jason Geringer. And while we are waiting for Nonso to connect, I would like to show you some videos that he created of technological projects that he has undertaken, including his invention of a smart stick, which can help the visually impaired navigate in their surroundings. So let's take a look at a demonstration of the smart stick right now.
Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Nolly Tech. Today I'm going to be testing the prototype which I built, the smart stick for blind people. I'm going to be doing any updates that is necessary. Today we're going to be using it to walk around the environment and see how it works. So let's get it started. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel.
All right, so that was quite an interesting invention that Nonso created essentially by himself through the resources that were available to him. I'm curious to hear some thoughts from our officers about the smart stick. What impressions did you get when you saw this video? Jason, please go ahead.
Well, yeah, Anthony, I was talking to Anthony about it, and he's wondering whether or not he's using an RFID thing or if it's a laser, like a weak laser. And I was saying, if it's an RFID, then wouldn't he have that be two parts, and then there'd be one in the ball, you know? And if he's like sneaking one in the ball, then that's kind of, you know, it's probably a laser, I imagine. That's my guess. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yes, I think it would be nice to ask Nonso about some of these elements of the design that you have questions about, but I invite other hypotheses. David, please go ahead.
Well, I don't have a hypothesis. I just wanted to comment on the practicality of it. I guess that's the applied innovation in me. But there's a fellow in my neighborhood I see when I'm out walking that's visually impaired, and he has obviously his cane to help him navigate around objects. But I think just that addition of that sound would be very good, because you don't have to actually touch the object, it looked like in the video, as long as you have some proximity to it. And just with a regular cane that a visually impaired person might use, you might come close to it but not graze it and still not know it's there. So I definitely see an advantage.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, David, for those thoughts. And Daniel Tweed in our YouTube chat suggests it may just be a photocell, but that's another hypothesis that we might want to get some feedback from Nonso on. Alan Crowley writes that this is a very cool smart stick. Indeed it is, and I hope it can help some visually impaired people in Nigeria and perhaps even outside of Nigeria. Alan also states that connecting a smart stick to a smartphone would be awesome and the phone could speak to you. Very interesting suggestion. And yes, indeed, the phone could inform the user of perhaps the existence of an obstacle or even the particular shape of that obstacle if the detection mechanism is sophisticated enough. So any other feedback on the smart stick? Art Ramon, please go ahead.
Yeah, I've used Arduino before, and yeah, you're definitely limited by the types of sensors you have. But kind of going on the example of a metal detector, as you get closer, it winds more. So maybe if you can have it at a greater distance and it would whine at a higher pitch as you approach it. But it's going to be limited by the type of sensor that he has. And I know when I played with it, I had a very limited types of sensor. Photo sensors is what I had mostly, but yeah, it's definitely a start to understand how the Arduino works, especially how you power it. Powering has always been an issue for me, is how to power that Arduino board. When it's connected to your computer, it's easy. It's getting power from the computer at 5 volts, but trying to power it on its own it's always been a challenge for me.
Yes, indeed. And it's interesting because Nonso has created various other Arduino projects. Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned something about how to power it because, I used to make these little circuits that are in a crystal diode radio set. It uses these little germanium diodes, and a diode is something that only lets electricity go one way, but the crystalline structure of it vibrates with other like radio waves and things like that. Whatever kind of, it actually only catches half of the wave because it pushes it up and then it allows the energy to go one way, but then on the way back down, it don't because of the crystalline structure. And so it acts sort of like a DC current, but it's really only half of the wave. Anyway, you can get like a minute amount of energy from that, and it's not like enough to power a house or anything. But if you were to use it in connection with like a larger system, because there's a lot of different systems that require some sort of thing to get it started. That's why it'll have a battery with it sometimes just to get the thing started. Like if you get a mass spinning around, you could have something that just does a little bit of current at just the right time. And it's kind of like if you're pushing a tire across the road, once it gets going, all you have to do is tap it every once in a while and it'll keep going. And so that little bit of current that you need, if it's free, could end up being like the oscillator or the switch in some larger mechanism, so it's only like one part of a whole larger system that could end up being free energy for, whatever. You can make a little diode radio out of it is how I stumbled across it. And the other part is you make this winding around a wire, and then that's how you tune it. You touch this thing to the different winding, and then you can actually hear a radio. You can put a little speaker, earbuds with no battery, no nothing, just, this capacitors and diodes and a little speaker, and, you can hear the radio. So it's pretty neat.
Yeah, I had one of those when I was a kid. It was a crystal radio set. And like you were saying, the cool thing is it doesn't require any power source. literally draws the power right out of the radio waves themselves, and it's enough to power a very small like speaker that you hold up to your ear. So I think these sort of like educational projects can really get kids interested in science and technology. So there's an educational aspect as well to what he's doing. And I'd love to ask him, like, what kind of interest he's gotten among, students and people in Nigeria.
Yes, indeed.
So it looks almost like what he has is sort of like a makerspace lab.
Yes, and he has essentially assembled that makerspace on his own using the materials that he could get. Now, in response to Jason's commentary, Daniel Tweed writes, it is indeed possible to extract useful battery charging levels of energy from ambient radio frequency energy in the air. So that's an interesting observation there. And we do have some additional videos of Nonso's Arduino projects to demonstrate more of the extent of his work. So the first one that I will show is a bit of an overview of some of his work with Arduino. Here we go.
This is my first Arduino project. I was so glad in building it. I was able to program the Arduino to blink, but although I find difficulties in programming it, I finally programmed it last night, and now you can see the LED is blinking. This is my Arduino second project, which I also built to be building. These are switches which are connected in series, and this is the lead, and this is the jumper wire and a resistor. The switch it has two switches which electrical current passes. For the LED to be light up, you have to press the button. The interval at which it blinks is 100 milliseconds. You can see this is digital to pin wire, digital pin 3 wire, and digital pin 5 wire. This is digital pin 2 wire. And these are the resistors which are connected in parallel to the bulb, and a switch to control how it blinks. Once the switch is being pressed, the red becomes steady and the yellow and blue blinks. Once my hand is off the circuit, the blue and red blinks again.
All right, so now we have seen an overview of various of Nonso's Arduino projects, and we have another video from him which showcases a particular Arduino project that he did recently.
This is my 7th project in programming, which is called Keyboard Instruments. You can see switches, which are the keyboard tones, and resistor connected in parallel to each of them, and a piezo element.
All right, so now we have seen a good overview of Nonso's endeavors, and we have a quite valid question from Mike Lazine, who wonders, what is Arduino used for? So Arduino is, according to Wikipedia, an open source hardware and software company, project, and user community that designs and manufactures single board microcontrollers and microcontroller kits for building digital devices. And the advantage is the open source aspect. So the hardware products are licensed under the Creative Commons Attribution Share Alike license, and the software is licensed under the GNU Lesser General Public license or the GNU General Public license. So it means anybody can manufacture these Arduino boards and distribute them without significant restrictions. And that would include even commercial production of them. So this is very good for spreading these kinds of kits and projects to places where it would otherwise be quite difficult to access the materials or to access proprietary materials. So this is a good question, Mike, and I will share the Wikipedia link shortly. Daniel Tweed also writes that Arduino is considered a microcontroller rather than a microprocessor, such as Raspberry Pi. So that's a good distinction to make as well. So any thoughts on the Arduino projects that you've seen from Nonso? Let's see. So in the absence of further commentary on that, I will also bring up a comment from Alan Crowley, who writes, the germanium diodes would be good for the smart stick and additionally for a spectrum of wearable devices. So that's a good suggestion that we will bring up to Nonso as well. Mike Lazine wonders, can the smart stick be powered by a lithium battery? That is a good question also. And I'm curious if any of you know the answers. Jason, please go ahead.
Well, sure. It could be powered by a battery, of course. You know, I'm just. I really like the whole idea of getting the energy that's, you know, right in the atmosphere, because that's free. It's not really free. I mean, it's an open source system. I mean, but you know, even if it's cosmic rays, you know, that's just another sun far away.
Yes, and now we have Nonso with us. So thank you, Nonso, for joining us. I'm pleased that we were able to finally achieve a connection for you. So we've shown some videos of your smart stick, and we've shown some videos of your Arduino project. So we have a bit of an introduction, but tell us a bit more about the smart stick, what motivated you to create it, your process for creating it, and essentially how you foresee it being used. Let's see. Can you hear us?
Can't hear you.
It looks like he may have a slow connection, but in any case, we have a comment from Sci-Fi Sapien, who writes, hello, Nonso. Hello. We've been enjoying your videos. And Daniel Tweet writes, maker spaces are everywhere and good for transhumanists to get involved with. Perhaps we could see some more maker spaces emerge in Nigeria. And Alan Crowley points out that $5 can still make a difference in today's economy. Yes, if they can be used to purchase components for devices that would motivate a young inventor. Zach, it looks like you want to say something.
Yeah. Mic quality all right? Hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to echo the comment on maker spaces. I think it kind of serves a dual purpose in not just creating things, which almost is secondary, but primarily in just stimulating the mind and putting something together. I inherited from a buddy a big old Bitcoin mining rig that I've got right here that I'm trying to figure out how to put together, and I'm almost ready to take it to a makerspace and say, hey guys, do you have some ideas, some information? Because I think really going through the process yourself is not so much necessary when you've got a distributed economy, but in specialization. But I think being able to put things together yourself gives you sort of a sense of ownership in the project that makes it just a little bit more close to home.
Yes, absolutely. And in addition to providing that sense of ownership, it also offers, of course, valuable skills that can blossom into further inventions and indeed into a career as an inventor. Alan Crowley writes that maker spaces are also collision spaces for bringing people and ideas together. And that is a very valid insight. And here, by the way, is the Wikipedia entry for Arduino, for those of you who want to learn more about it. And now, Nonso, we have you back. Can you hear us? Can you say
Yeah, I can
something?
hear. I'm so sorry for the bad. Yeah, I'm so sorry for the bad connection. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. So tell
Yeah,
us a
I'm
bit
so
about
so
the Smart Stick and your process for creating it.
okay. The smart stick is my building prototype. You can see the building prototype. Okay. The smart stick is light in weight. It's made with a PVC pipe as the building prototype for the meantime. It has ultrasonic sensor. If you look closely, you see an ultrasonic sensor below the smart stick. This is the ultrasonic sensor. So the purpose of creating this stick is for helping blind people in the world. Sorry.
Did you say it was an ultrasonic sensor, Nonso? Can you tell us a little bit about how that sensor specifically works? That we were trying to guess what it was, if it was
Okay.
like RFID or LiDAR or something, but it sounds like if it's ultrasonic, correct? Did I hear correctly?
Yes. So is it an ultrasonic sensor or a sonic sensor that you mentioned, Nonso?
Yeah, the ultrasonic sensor is a sensor that detects objects, and the sensor will have the receiver ultrasonic. Yeah, it has two sensors. One is the transmitter and one is the receiver. So the transmitter transmits sound in a very high frequency that is high to the human ear that we're not able to hear. Then the receiver receives this sensor. It detects it back. When it transmits, it's going to hit the object and it's going to
Nonso was in the middle of an explanation.
Yeah, that sounded interesting. So
Yes.
it's almost like an echolocation type of device. It sounds like you got a
reflect
bat
back. When
stick, you could
the
call it.
sensor reflects back, it's going to send.
Hello, Nonso. You were cut off a bit. Could you restate about the last half of your explanation?
Wow, awesome connection today.
And you could ask him. You could ask him to turn off his video. Nonso, if you can hear us, please try turning off your video.
Yes. So at the bottom of the StreamYard interface, there is a button called Stop Cam. If you turn off your camera, your audio connection may go through more smoothly. But in the meantime, we have an interesting question from Vladimir Baranov, who says, very interesting, do you work with microwave heating effect, I think, or hearing effect? I'm not sure which one he means. So Vladimir, if you could clarify which one you mean here, the heating effect or the hearing effect?
Yes, I was talking about the sensor, right? Yeah, so the sensor, with the help of the sensor, is going to help a lot of blind people in the world to work more confidently.
Yes. So
I didn't hear.
we heard the start of that.
This line with object. Yeah. So the sensor have the sensor, the microcontroller board. That is which is going to be using a rechargeable battery. Yeah, rechargeable battery is going to be good for it, and it's going to use a LiPo battery, LiPo-ion battery that's going to be inside the smart stick. And it has a vibrator motor which alerts the user there's an object in front of him. When he detects an object, it's going to vibrate to the user's hand. Hello.
Yes. Yes. So we heard that when the smart stick detects an object, it's going to vibrate in the user's hand, and that's how the user knows essentially that there's an obstacle.
I believe we were hearing a sort of beeping during your videos, though, too, almost like.
That was my first prototype, which I built. I built it to be beeping. That's my first prototype. Then the second one, when I got some feedback, I get feedback from so many people that it's going to be making a lot of noise. So I tried to update it to vibrating. Yeah.
So it vibrates in people's hands now. You move it around, it's kind of like a vibro stick. That is really cool.
Yeah.
Have you had any clients so far, or even if they're not paying you, people testing out your device? Any blind? Tell me about the blind community where you are. What part of Nigeria are you in?
Yeah, I've contacted the Blind Association of Nigeria. I know.
It looks like he got interrupted again. Yes,
Bummer.
but he was starting to say
So
that.
I wonder how much those cost.
He was starting to say that he did contact some organizations, but we don't know what happened with that yet. Alan Crowley writes, a tactile haptic system makes good sense.
Haptic,
so,
that's the word.
Yes, and that is what.
Yeah, I know that I contacted the Blind Association in Nigeria. Yeah, I've contacted the Blind Association of Nigeria, but I got no response for them because of the bad government, everything not working perfectly, you understand? So I've contacted the one of Canada, no response for that too. So and secondly, the project is not yet completed. There are a lot of things to get to complete the project, but they are not yet done. Yeah, because of past and material.
So
hey, Nonso, I've got a small request on your video and camera feed. We were saying that if you click the button to like turn off your camera, then more data would be going through just through your audio channel, and then we could hear you better, and it might not cut off as much. So you might consider clicking the button on your screen that says stop cam in the bottom.
Yeah, I've done that.
I think we can hear you better.
Yeah, I've done that.
Thank you.
all right. So now let's hope that the audio only connection holds up to a
so I was saying
superior.
that that
Seems to work better. How much does them cost? I mean, like if you was to make one of those, how much roughly would it cost you to make one, and how much do you think you'd sell one for? And what other kind of gadgets could you put in a stick? Go gadget stick. Can you hear me?
Nonso, can you hear us?
We lost him again.
So while we work to get him back.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Yes. Could you hear Jason's question? So let's talk about the cost of the Smart Stick and how much does it cost to get the materials and manufacture a Smart Stick. How feasible do you think it is to scale up that kind of invention to reach a lot of people?
Okay, the cost of the Smart Stick is not that much expensive in building. We only need the sonic sensor, the microcontroller, and switch LiPo battery. So what we are going to use in building it is normal, but it's to require a 3D printer to print out the prototypes. You understand what I mean by PVC pipe? Hello.
Yes, hello, Nonso. We
We
heard
can hear you,
about
but you cut out quite a bit.
Right.
If you could repeat like the last 30 seconds, that would help us all.
Well,
Repeat the last 30 seconds. Everything you just said, say it one more time. There was a little bit of lag still, unfortunately.
it looks like we lost him again, but I gathered from his statement that the cost is not that expensive for a single smart stick. And the issue in scaling it up may be more of an institutional one. He mentioned bad governance in Nigeria and perhaps some other obstacles that
I can speak on that because
Yes.
I applied for with the MIT Solve program for it's funny. Dan mentioned in the chat, what about Starlink? And I had applied for MIT Solve to try and get some Starlink going for another one of our Nigerian affiliates, Agba Educational Clinic in Warri. So I didn't win, but I learned some interesting stuff doing the research, which was that there's kind of a duopoly with data there. There's Alcatel and I think MTN Nigeria, and the two of them charge very heavy rates for data. Like it's like almost what we pay in the US, but there's no real easy alternative for Nigerians to jump over to because everything's controlled by this duopoly. So I am really excited to be able to see Starlink pop into Nigeria. I think that's supposed to happen this year. When I was researching this last year, they were just showing talks about it and having different Nigerian ministers shaking hands. Hey, Nonso, do you have MTN Nigeria or do you have Alcatel?
I have MTN.
You have MTN? Okay. We were just talking
Yeah, man.
about data is like only with MTN and
the problem
Alcatel.
is because I'm using stream. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, Nonso, go ahead.
Yeah. When I do use
It seems we have a lag with Nonso again.
Yeah. You know, I'll tell you what, a lot of people got a lot of stuff to say about Elon Musk, but man, that Starlink is something. You cannot argue with results.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, the effect that it's had on the Ukraine war is immense.
Mm-hmm.
100% agree. 100% agree. That's I mentioned Kelvin Ogba a minute ago. He actually started an Elon Musk club. There are photos I can show anyone that's interested of a huge amount of his school standing in front of a big wall. He painted Elon Musk Club, photos of him. He told me when I first met him that his life goal was to meet Elon and shake his hand, which hasn't happened quite yet, but we're still working on that. He's definitely got the fire for it.
That's a bit much. I mean, he's just Elon's a normal guy. He's not, you know.
He's a deity.
Well, we've had some issues with Elon and his anti-longevity rhetoric, so I hope he can be brought around on that subject to see reason, because
what was that? What did he do?
Well, he made a statement essentially stating that progress would be thwarted if older generations didn't die off to make room for newer generations. And my response to him was essentially, that's like saying that car accidents are required for progress in automotive safety. So I was trying to relate that to a field in which he had some expertise.
We've heard that same argument before. You know, that's not a new argument.
Yes.
You'd think he'd imagine if everyone was hooked up to Neuralink that they'd be having young brains and still be able to keep with the progress and stuff. I being an as people get older, things you don't get as twitchy of a response to things with like social media and jumping between different windows. It's a skill that's sort of slowly lost. So I can see where he's going with like old populations wanting to be more conservative, for lack of a better word. But I mean, I imagine technology is something that's going to allow us to overcome that limitation quite easily and quite quickly, probably even before we hit longevity escape velocity.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, if plasticity of mind, I would imagine that if that is some sort of biological thing, that when you get older, you lose plasticity of mind, then it would make sense to me that if you got, longevity treatments that are literally making you younger, then you would still have your plasticity of mind. So not really an old person,
Right. As long as people can be made biologically younger, they would regain the neuroplasticity, the mental flexibility to be able to entertain new concepts and apply them in
there's easy ways to get this now. Brain-derived neurotropic factor. I mean, easiest to get with exercise, but also they've got it in pill form now. A doctor I know has been taking BDNF for years. Just takes some every morning, and he's 60 something, and he's got perfectly smooth skin. His hair's gray, but he's got very quick reactions, quick thoughts, quick responses. I think some of these nootropics that we have available to us, we definitely need more research on a lot of them, especially the sort of semi-legal ones, like modafinil. I tell you, I got my hands on some of that. I got a prescription for that, and that was just a game changer. Like the amount of alacrity and clarity it gives to your thought. It's something that almost, like, I imagine a lot of people saying, okay, well, it's good to be all natural, and Gennady kind of has this idea of the golden mean, but I don't think it's unfeasible or unreasonable to imagine that there are just some magical chemicals out there, some magical molecules, I should say, that being able to take them every day could make you permanently younger, fresher, sharper, etc.
I would be quite wary of that, though, for several reasons. First of all, if such chemicals existed and they were free of deleterious side effects, we would have seen essentially an ageless segment of the population already. And the fact that we don't see that suggests to me that reversing the aging process or regaining neuroplasticity is not as simple as taking a pill or a chemical. The other concern I have is, of course, for the various possible side effects of any mind-altering substance, given that we can't target the alterations of the mind to limit them to beneficial effects only. But in any event, we have
lots of times, it's drugs, it's making me more clear and I'm jamming, but and then you find out, no, you weren't jamming, you were just high, man.
Right. So we have Nonso back. Nonso, can you hear us? I don't think he can hear us yet. So Nonso, please say something once you're ready to communicate with us again. Also, another option is for you to answer questions. Yes, you can hear us. Okay. So there are some questions for you in our YouTube chat. So Vladimir Baranov writes, what is the maximum distance for your device? Can you talk about that for the Smart Stick? What is the maximum distance for the Smart Stick?
It's 4 meters.
4 meters. Okay. So we've answered that question. Very good. How long did it take you to invent the Smart Stick?
2 months.
2 months. Okay. So that was quite a project. It took a lot of your time. And what did you learn? What did you learn as you were working on the Smart Stick? Was this project as you had expected it to go, or were there some aspects that you didn't expect that you learned along the way?
Yeah, like the distance. I want the distance to be more, like maybe about 10 meters. Understand? Yeah.
Yes, so he wanted a greater distance, but it didn't work out that way. So, what were some of the
Yeah. And I also want, I also,
yes, Nonso was going to say
so,
something, but he
you know,
got
yeah,
go ahead. Go
yeah,
ahead.
you know, a blind person can mistakenly dip the smart stick inside the water. So this sensor needs to be waterproof. Yeah, in case it's being deep inside the water, it's not going to get spoiled. It's going to still be working. So the
Yes.
sensor needs to be waterproof.
Yes. So the sensor needs to be waterproof. That's an important lesson learned.
Yeah,
And we have some feedback from Sci-Fi Sapien, who writes 4 meters. That's fantastic. And he writes in regard to the waterproofing of the sensor, that would be a good next step. Mike Lazine, for our US audience, states that 4 meters is about 13 feet plus, and that's pretty good. I'm going to validate that. It's 13.1234 feet. So that is correct. Now, Jason wonders, is there a use case to ward off wild animals with a smart stick? What do you think, Nonso? If somebody is in the vicinity of a wild animal, could the smart stick help them essentially prevent some sort of bad encounter with the animal? I don't know if Nonso can hear us
You could
still.
always put a taser on the end of it. That'd work.
Yes, we may have.
But I imagine there's probably other technologies like, ultrasound or, some kind of sound that maybe only the dogs can hear that might, who knows, maybe a hyena might, ward off a hyena, that you can't hear if it was like a real high pitched dog whistle or something. Oh, maybe.
It's possible. And maybe some of the wild animals might be scared off by the sounds that the smart stick makes. So, but we've got Nonso back perhaps. And Nonso, could you talk about whether the smart stick could be used to ward off against wild animals?
do you mean to scare wild animals away?
Yes, yes. So if there's a dangerous animal, could the animal perhaps be afraid of the smart stick, or could the user essentially detect the animal sooner and take precautions?
No, I don't think that would be possible because it only detects something. It can detect the animal as an object that is something in front of him or her, like this something. But we can upgrade it by making it to detect that this is an animal and giving the user more information that this is an animal in front of him or her. But right now, what the thing only do is to detect objects. So the smart is going to see the animal as an object in front of the user.
Yes. So no matter what the object is, the smart stick will just inform the user that it's an object, but it won't distinguish between an animal and something else. So, how
Yeah.
do you foresee this technology being improved in the future? You mentioned the waterproof sensor as a possibility. Could there be, as one of our viewers suggested, the ability to link it to a phone app, perhaps, to be able to give more details to the user, like this is what the object is?
I don't get it.
So, could the smart stick sensor connect to a phone app that could then tell the user what the object is that is being detected? or even tell the user that an object has been detected.
Yeah, it's possible.
It's possible, yes. So as kind of a next generation version of this technology.
Yeah, the GPS can also be included on the smart stick.
Yes, so there's a GPS possibility as well.
Yeah.
All right, very good, very good. So now let's talk about scaling this invention to be able to bring it to large numbers of people. What would it take for that to happen? What would it take for thousands of smart sticks to be produced, or larger numbers if this invention catches on? Maybe there could be millions of smart sticks. What is required for that to happen?
The tools in making it, the resources in making it, because I'm just building this one locally. Yeah, I don't have any machine building it, no 3D printer making it. So I just build this one out of PVC pipe. So to make millions of it, you need to get a lot of materials and 3D printer to make the parts.
So you would need materials and a 3D printer, a large amount of materials, and presumably you would need to partner with some sort of business that specializes in manufacturing these kinds of components. So do you know if there are any... Do you know if there are any...
from China.
Could you repeat that?
I said like manufacturer from China, right?
That could be the case, but I'm wondering if there are any such manufacturing facilities in Nigeria as well, because if you manufacture something in China, you have to import it, and that is costly as well, or there could be supply chain disruptions. So do you know if there are factories in Nigeria that could make some of the components?
No. They are not in Nigeria. No.
No such factories in Nigeria then. All right, so you would need to rely essentially on an international distribution system. I'm curious if you've considered licensing your invention to some businesses that might have the capability of manufacturing it. So you would get paid royalties as the inventor, and then they would take care of the mass production and distribution, and you would get a share of the profits. That seems to be the way to go if you can find local facilities in Nigeria to help you manufacture this yourself.
Well, yeah.
So we have a question from Vladimir Baranov, who wonders, did you talk with Chinese factories to print your design? And you can discuss the price for doing that with them, according to Vladimir. Have you had those kinds of conversations?
Yeah, I had like branding my own drone motors, but it was expensive, but it was not based on the smart stick. It was based on my own drone motors, like Nolly robotics should be branded on the drone motors, but the cost was that expensive, so I give up on that. Like this. Wait, hold a minute. This is my drone building prototype. Yeah.
So this is a drone that you built yourself?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I want it to be autonomous drone, self-controlled. So this is another robot car. Yeah, this is a Bluetooth model and a ultrasonic sensor. It detects an object, and the Bluetooth help connect with a phone, Android phone. I can control it by your phone. While this is a surveillance robot car, you can move around the environment with your phone, connect it with your phone Wi-Fi to the camera, can see the environment, know what is going on. That is a surveillance robot car.
Yes. That is an impressive robot car. And I think it would be great, Nonso, if you could make a video of that robot car navigating around its environment. And likewise with the drone, if you could make a video flying your drone, I think that would reach and impress a decent number of people. So it looks like you have a lot of projects that you are working on simultaneously. You have a drone, you have a robot car, you have the smart stick, you have your Arduino projects. Tell us about your typical day as an inventor. How do you decide what to work on? What do you spend your time doing on a typical day, if you have a typical day? It looks like we lost Nonso briefly again, but
some of the time building robots, building robots and electronics, because that's what I have passion for since I was a kid.
So you spend most of your time building robots and
Hello.
electronics?
Yeah, I say that's what I have passion for.
Mhm.
Yeah, since I was
Yes. And
yeah.
I'm
I
glad
want to go
that
to a college, but they are not teaching that course in Nigeria.
so you are self-taught. You taught yourself because there are no good courses that you know of, correct?
No, I mean they are not teaching robotics in Nigeria.
Right. That's what I was saying. There are no.
How did you learn about Arduinos or whatever you call them? I don't even know.
Arduino. So yes, let's talk about Arduino, because we showed the videos of your Arduino projects. How did you become acquainted with Arduino, and how long did it take you to learn it and get to the level of the projects that you displayed?
Yeah, it took me 6 months, but I started early 2021 after a gift from a friend from the United States with the Arduino kits. Someone gifted me the Arduino kit as a gift to start learning with it. So I built some simple project like making a link to beep. Yeah, a lead bulb to beep. That was my first project then. Yeah, I make it to beep. From there, I start building cars and making it to move too. And do some other project like using the ultrasonic sensor to detect distance of a lead bulb. If you check my YouTube video, you see that project. Yeah.
Yes. So that's impressive. It took you 6 months to
Yeah,
learn
but
Arduino.
I'm not too perfect in the programming aspect right now, though. I'm still learning the programming. Yeah, but building, I'm perfect with building the projects.
Yes. So it's still a learning process for you, but nonetheless, you've been able to achieve some impressive results. And you started fairly recently as well in 2021. So
Yeah.
Vladimir Baranov asks, do you use some kind of operating system on the device, on the smart stick?
Like the
Yes.
Arduino IDE app. Yeah, Arduino IDE app software.
So this is interesting that Arduino also provides an open source software package for
Yeah.
inventions such as the smart stick.
Yeah.
And Mike Lazine wonders, where are you getting your parts currently for your inventions? Because I assume you're not getting them from Nigeria. Are you importing them from somewhere?
Yeah. I import them from China.
From China. So yes, you already have a connection to China. So how does this work for you?
No, I mean from online store.
From an online store. All right.
Yeah. But they are expensive. That is the point. I only do that when I get funds from someone, like $10, $20 for help from friends. Yeah, I use it to buy those stuff.
Yes. So do you use the money that you get from your Patreon donations in part for buying materials for your projects?
Yeah, I do, but I wanted it to be for my college, but it's not enough to my expense. So I
Yes.
do use some. Yeah, I do use some thought for that.
Yes. And we are going to share the link to your Patreon account here shortly so that people could become recurring donors to your account, as I am one. So
I wonder if Amazon works over there. Does Amazon? Do you guys got Amazon over there?
Do you mean Amazon store?
Amazon the website,
Yeah.
does Amazon the
Yeah.
website deliver goods to Nigeria?
Yeah, it's possible they do deliver.
And would the goods purchased on Amazon be more or less expensive than the ones you can access from China?
From China.
So are the Chinese goods cheaper than the ones you could buy on Amazon?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So we do have the Patreon account of Nonso Nolly shown here on the screen. If you would like to become a donor, this is the link. I would recommend it because, as Nonso said, a fairly small donation could actually go a long way toward helping him acquire some of the components. $10 or $20 could make a significant difference. And our friend John H. points out Amazon probably gets those components from China anyway. Well, at least many of them. That is true. Tom Ross, our director of Sentient Rights Advocacy, writes, Nonso represents the kind of young Africans we need to support. Africa has the youngest population on Earth, so seizing or not seizing the fourth industrial revolution there will have a global impact. And I'm wondering, Nonso, what are your thoughts about the future of innovation in Africa? Since you live in Nigeria, you see the environment, the surroundings of that country every day. You see what the people are doing, what they're capable of. What do you see as the prospects for developing this kind of innovation among young Nigerians?
Yeah, Nigeria is a developing country in the world. You know, Nigeria is a developed country because it's not like other countries that everything is like the United States that since they are Nigeria is beyond the United States, far back the United States. So Nigeria recently everybody is learning technology, programming, coding, they are teaching it. Yeah, so I can see a brighter future for Nigeria in the next future.
Yes. Now, when you showed your inventions to others in Nigeria, what kinds of responses did you receive? Were people impressed that you were able to do this? Did people want to be like you and invent their own devices?
No, they don't like it because no jobs in this aspect, no job in this like robotics or electronics. So they don't like putting the effort in this field.
So they're thinking more about what is going to enable them to earn money in the short term, but they don't see a short term prospect
Yeah,
for earning
yeah, I
money
just
with
keep doing
invention.
it because yeah, I just keep doing it because that's what I have passion for and that's what I want to do. Looking to others make me to give up, but I don't want to give up on it.
Yes. So it's clear that the support that needs to come for Nonso is going to come primarily from outside of Nigeria. And I think this is where it is important for people to donate a little bit of funds to help him purchase the components and help him introduce something that is not yet a widespread type of activity in Nigeria. And maybe over time.
So
Yes, go ahead.
actually, if there's any connection to a tech company or robotics company, I'll be glad to join them. Yeah, and also
Yes.
to studying the college like Canada.
Yes. So you're interested in studying, you're interested in any connections to tech companies or robotic companies that could
Yeah, in the
employ
United
you.
States.
Mhm.
In the United States or Canada.
Yes, in the United States or in Canada, but really anywhere in the Western world, you would find greater opportunities. So in Europe as well, there would be enough companies working on technological innovation that I think would be happy to have an innovative and entrepreneurially minded person. Now, I'm also interested in this question from Vladimir. We tried to ask it earlier, but it seems your connection is better now. Do you work with a microwave effect? Yes. So you said yes, you do. All right. So now let us go to the panel for any questions that you may have for Nonso. Art Ramon, please go ahead.
No.
Yeah, we were discussing it earlier. How are you powering your Arduino when it's not connected to a computer? What are your? Do you have a power bank? What is that?
Looks like we lost him again.
We had a good connection for quite some time, but it does seem like we lost him again. I wanted to read a comment from Tom Ross because I think his observation is quite relevant here. He writes, there are real issues in Nigeria where the older generation stunts the innovative youth. We experienced a lot of that in my time with Tafts. It could take a generation to solve that. Now, for context, Tom used to be the CEO of Tafts, which is the transdisciplinary agora for future discussions. And it seems he encountered this obstacle in his work there as well. So now, Nonso, you're back. Did you hear Art Ramon's question?
No.
No.
Please
Art
repeat
Ramon, could you restate your question?
Yeah, how are you powering the Arduino board when you have it attached on the stick? Because usually it draws power from the computer via the USB cable, but when it's on board on the stick, isolated from the computer, how do you power that?
Yeah, the Arduino. I'm using the Arduino Nano board for the Smart Stick because the Arduino UNO board can fit in the stick because it's a bigger board. So I need a smaller board, which is the Arduino Nano board. That's what I'm using for the project. This can fit in the stick. On the Nano board, we have the battery terminal, we have the 5 voltage and the VCC pin. That's where we're going to connect the battery. I'm using a LiPo battery for the Smart Stick. It's going to also fit inside the stick, which powers this Nano board. Then the Nano board supply current to the vibrator motor and the ultrasonic sensor.
Okay, and what kind of battery is that?
LiPo battery.
I'm sorry.
Lithium-ion battery. Lithium, yeah.
Lithium-ion battery.
What size? Is it a 9
Yeah,
volts?
because the Arduino requires more than 9 volts, like 12 voltage.
So 12 volts. Interesting.
I may have missed this because I had to step away for a minute, but did you have any, or did you speak on having any feedback from actual visually impaired people and what they thought about it? And secondarily, what is the distance between the stick and a solid object before you receive the haptic feedback?
4 cm, 4 meters. Sorry.
4 meters. Okay.
Yeah,
Wait,
Yeah,
and
4
I didn't
cm
get
would
to.
be too small.
4 cm is centimeters.
He said he corrected himself. 4 meters. He said.
Meters. So I didn't get the feedback from blind people because I contacted the Blind Association of Nigeria. I got no response for them. So there's no how I'm going to get the smart stick used by someone there.
Got it. Well, yeah,
Yes.
that'd be something to try and keep
Yes, I
pushing
also
on. Maybe we
contacted one
can
of
echo that.
yeah. I also contacted the Blind Association of Canada. I emailed them, no response to them till now. So I just give up.
Well, if
Don't give up.
anyone watching this video knows someone who is visually impaired, please inform them of Nonso's invention. And maybe in that way, Nonso could get some beta testers for it.
Yeah, have you thought about costs for that? Say one of us were to find a group of visually impaired individuals. There's a school for the blind not a few miles away from me. Say I were to go to them and find them and say, hey, there's these great new sticks. And they say, all right, we want 3 of them. What would you charge me? This is a hypothetical, of course. Like, say I asked you for 3 sticks. Would you be able to do it? Or what would you charge?
Oh, what will I charge? Yeah, I'll charge like, let me say about $25.
That's reasonable.
Yeah, because
right, cool.
because what I use is PVC pipe, is a low cost. But I don't know how about when I'm using the 3D printed material to build it. Maybe it should be more than $25.
Yes,
Okay.
I would imagine these days the greatest costs would be in shipping rather than parts, because there is a great deal of expense in shipping something from the United States to Nigeria, as Zach and I both know. Now, I wonder what the cost is going the other way, going from Nigeria to
Yeah, how far are you from Lagos?
I'm far, but not that too far from Lagos.
Like how many hours drive? Or I guess if you don't have a car, it wouldn't matter, but...
No, I don't know about it. I reside in Asaba Delta State. Asaba Delta State, Nigeria.
What?
Yes. So
We didn't hear that.
I didn't hear what you said.
I say I live in Asaba.
Asaba. Okay.
He lives in Asaba, yes.
Got it.
And I can find the distance on the map. In the meantime, Daniel Tweet wonders, are the plans for the Smart Stick going to be made open source? And I think this is a relevant question because Arduino itself is open source.
Yeah, it's an open source, yeah.
Yes. And you know what the advantage of that would be? If the plans are made open source, then you could also make an arrangement with somebody else, somebody perhaps in the United States or Canada, to manufacture some of these smart sticks here, and that way you don't have to pay the shipping costs to ship them from Nigeria.
Yeah, you know what else I was thinking? Is there a possibility you could just make the sensor part that clips on to like the end of somebody's cane? Because I could imagine where if I was a blind guy, I might like my particular cane, you know what I mean? And wouldn't want a, different cane. I'd want something that hooks onto my cane, and then that'd be less you'd have to ship, because you wouldn't have to ship the cane itself. You just ship the little part and have it clip on the end of somebody else's cane. Just an idea.
Yes, that's an interesting idea. Now, let us see if other panelists have questions for Nonso while his connection is good. Ben, what questions do you have for Nonso?
Thanks for being here, Nonso. I wondered, I'm not quite sure I heard yet what inspired you to start inventing, to start getting into electronics and stuff. What was your first exposure and your first chance to dig into this subject?
My first project was RC car. RC car.
That's
An RC car. Yes.
That's a pretty
Yeah.
expensive toy to get the first time and be like, holy crap, I got an RC car. That sounds like a big project.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an
I
intimidating
did mine.
project, the first one.
Yeah. Mine was built with a cardboard. You can see this is a cardboard.
Even so, I mean, I am intimidated by electronics. Like, what made you think I can figure that out? That would make me like, I'm just gonna do something else that's not so difficult. What made you think I can do that?
Because it's a passion, something I like doing.
What was maybe like the first kind of electronic thing that you really got to dig into? Like, was there a radio that you got to take apart at some point, or
A
I don't
torchlight.
even know.
A torchlight.
Flashlight? Wow.
Yeah.
I get you. Cool. And just mess with them and tinker and figure stuff out and be like, this is sweet. I like this. I'm going to make this my life.
Yes. Well, we certainly admire the tremendous motivation that you have to continue to invent, to continue to pursue your passion, especially in an environment that is not as receptive to it as it should be. So hopefully our audience will appreciate all of the effort that you've put in and will help you out in the ways that it is possible to assist. Now, I'm also curious if David Shoemaker has any questions for Nonso.
Well, first off, thanks so much for being here, and thanks for suffering through all the technical issues to get going. Yeah, I too was interested in what got you into this. Are you working alone, or have you brought other people in to work with you,
Yeah.
or how is that working? Are you working by yourself?
I'm not sure if he hears our questions. Nonso, can you hear us?
I'm working alone.
He's working alone. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has your work inspired others?
I can hear you.
Has your work inspired other people? As far as you
Yeah,
know.
spider. Yeah. Yes, a lot. A lot of people.
A lot of people. That's good.
That's tremendous. Yeah, that's tremendous. Thank you.
And for those young people who are inspired by your work, what do you hear from them? Do you know if they're also trying to invent something?
Yeah, mostly of them are into electronics and robotics. They want to build playing cars, drone, all of that. And they're gonna like say, teach me how to do this, how to do that.
Yes. And Mike Lazine writes, yes, thank you a lot for joining us, Nonso. You rock. And Alan Crowley writes that you inspired him. So that is, I think, quite touching. Zach Richardson writes that Asaba is much closer to Wari than to Lagos, and the distance is about 437 kilometers from Lagos, and Mike Lazine says that it is indeed the case that shipping costs from the USA to Nigeria are not cheap. John H. has translated kilometers to miles for us, so that's a distance of 271 miles. That's a substantial drive. That's about a 6-hour drive, I would imagine. So
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
quite a
He
distance.
said shipping from the United States to Nigeria is expensive. Alternative is AliExpress.
Yes.
Nonso, you should join us in our Discord server. We'd love to hear more about what your the progress of your inventions over time. It'd be really cool to have even just a picture from you dropped in the chat once in a while and say, hey, here's what I'm working on. We've got a lot of people interested in biohacking, body hacking, artificial intelligence, a lot of people interested in longevity. That's obviously one of our main planks for our platform, but the idea of having a maker in our group would be really cool, and we could maybe collaborate or get some advice or ideas from you, or give and take.
Yes.
So how will I join the group?
So here's the link
I
to
sent
join
you a
the
link.
group, and I have pasted it here on the screen as well. Just type this link into any browser or click on it from the message that Zach sent you. And in the meantime, I would like to acknowledge the kind support of John H., who writes, Happy New Year 2023 CE, and may this year see huge advances in the realm of life and health extension. Excelsior. Indeed. Thank you very much, John. You are one of our
He
loyal
said
supporters.
Excelsior.
Yes,
Like Stan
Excelsior.
Lee. Stan Lee.
And then also, I want to acknowledge the support from Alan Crowley, who writes, starting the new year with a contribution for figuring out tech connections. We need more global connections. And indeed, this is the purpose of the salon that we have today, to highlight the fact that innovation is happening all over the world. But in order for it to be successful, it needs to find a supportive niche where it can thrive. And hopefully we can provide that to Nonso. So any further questions for Nonso from our panel?
I don't really got a question, but I've always kind of wanted to have like a little contest to see who could make with the least amount of money the most amount of volts, like a little energy machine that the object is to spend the least amount of money and yet get the most power out of it.
You get a bike, you attach a generator to it, and you pump your legs. Boom. There you go. Winner.
Well, I guess there would need to be some rules. Free energy, something that you don't got to pedal. I mean, it's got to be able to sit there and run, without you doing anything. I would think. We already got pedal ones.
Well, that would be, though, a rather low-tech form of energy, I would imagine, and it would require one to be in good shape in order to generate that energy. Now, I wanted to ask Nonso a bit more about your college experience in Nigeria. So are you going to college now? I know you're seeking to fund your tuition. And tell us more about the college and what you're studying there.
Electronics engineering.
You're studying
But
electronics
I'm not
engineering?
yet, yeah, but not yet in, although, but that's what I'm going for.
So do you find that the education you're getting there is of high quality?
Please, can you break it down? When you say hyperbolic, what do you mean?
He means is like the education you're getting. Do you feel like you're learning a lot? Do you feel like they're helping you excel, or is it more like you've doing where you are now? You're already exceeded anything you could learn there. You're at the top of your game, top of your
Like, yeah,
class, or do you feel like you have a lot to learn, or like are you at the
yeah,
top already?
a lot to learn.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot to learn to gain more knowledge on this field, to gain more knowledge on the electronics field.
So there would be a benefit to you in going to college, continuing to pursue your studies, because there are skills you could learn there that you could apply to your inventions. So what do you think in
Yeah,
particular you would like to learn more about in the course of your studies?
I would like to learn more about the robotics field and also the electronics.
Yes. And are there specific kinds of robots that you would like to build in the future?
Yeah, like the drone. Yeah,
Yes. So you would like
drone.
to build more drones.
Yeah, advanced drones.
What do you imagine those drones could do?
Mm, mostly for delivering and for agriculture, like for harvesting of fruits.
Yes, that's an interesting application. And I imagine that would require the drones to be larger and heavier so that they could also carry heavier loads. Is that correct?
Yeah, while he's paused there, I'll comment. I was actually reading about this in one of our groups, and it's would be interesting to know what the regulatory climate is over there, because, for example, with Amazon's drone delivery service, they announced it in 2013. It's now 2022. Wait a minute. No, it is
2023.
2023 now, and we're still getting started with them. Like, they only have a little bit going. There was one story just on their Wikipedia page about how by the time one of their drones was approved to be cleared for delivery, it was already obsolete and they had a new model. So they had to start the whole process over again. So hopefully, if it's a little bit easier to get the technology approved and in the air, and not have, maybe better, maybe worse, I have no idea. But if it's easier to get stuff in the air there just through regulatory climate, you might have a significant advantage over the Americans in terms of robotics development.
Perhaps. Unfortunately, we lost Nonso once again, but hopefully he will reconnect. In the meantime, everyone, please follow him on Facebook. I have shared the link here as well. And we have a comment that is relevant from Vladimir Baranov, who says he works in a company, or he used to work in a company in St. Petersburg for 6 months on drones for agriculture. So when Nonso comes back, this is, I think, a relevant fact for him to be apprised of, and perhaps he and Vladimir could connect and share their respective experiences. Hello, Nonso.
I had a
Welcome
question
back.
about drones.
Go ahead.
Oh, he's back.
Yes. So Nonso, while you were away, we had a comment from our friend Vladimir Baranov in the YouTube chat, and he said he actually worked in the development of drones for agricultural purposes. So he is a person you could connect to. Now, I will let Jason ask his question. He does have a question in the chat. Are there any drones for which all of the parts can be 3D printed? Nonso, do you know if it's possible to create a drone solely by 3D printing the parts?
Yeah.
Yes, you think it's possible?
That'd be
You would-
cool.
You would need access to a 3D printer, though. Do you know how many 3D printers there are in Nigeria that would be an easy reach for you, Nonso? And it looks like his connection is a bit patchy now. I think that's a good question to consider because 3D printers offer the opportunity for decentralized manufacturing. So one doesn't need to be near a big factory if one has a good 3D printer and can manufacture the parts personally
Excuse
through.
me.
Yes. Hello, Nonso. Can you hear us now?
Hi.
So we were asking about 3D printers and how easy or difficult is it to access 3D printers in Nigeria?
Oh, we lost him again.
Yeah, please repeat the question. I heard you saying something before him. You say someone on YouTube said something, right?
Yes. So we were asking about 3D printers and how easy or difficult is it to get access to 3D printers in Nigeria? So it looks like Nonso's connection
There
is,
he goes again.
is still patchy, but Vladimir Baranov writes that the drones use multi-specter cameras for photography purposes on the fields.
Yeah, you couldn't 3D print that.
Right.
There'd
Right.
be
There are
obviously
certain
some stuff you just couldn't 3D print. Yeah. The
Yes.
wiring.
Well, a
Back
lot of
again.
the nozzles are coming out now that let you be able to print more fine materials than just like right now. The dominant, at least I had a little startup at one point, small business printing COVID masks, but they were all with PLA, the polylactic acid, which is just the plastic stuff. So a lot of it's there now, but there are hotter tips that you can put on your 3D printer where the material is extruded that'll allow you to extrude things like nylon. And but as for like heavy metals or things that would be needed inside of a drone for the precise components, I can imagine you could manufacture them. But the real question would be, could you get it to the point where you could melt it? And could you get the material that needed to be printed into the feed? So right now, for example, with mine, I've got a couple GDX pluses downstairs and crank out different gears and tinker toys and stuff to practice with. But you have a long spool of material that you put on top of the 3D printer, and then that spool slowly feeds into the 3D printer, and the heat from it going pulls through it. So you'd need almost a spool of things like bronze if you were going to have like electronic material going through there, or gold. Which
Yeah,
and
and then when you're talking micro components, that would just get crazy quickly. I imagine you'd probably be able to like have the board made somewhere else, and then you just 3D print like the case, and then you get the board in the mail and you
100%.
stick it in the slot. And I imagine all the fan blades and the rotors or whatever, and all the arms and all that extra stuff could probably all be 3D printed. But imagine like the chips and like Ivan was saying, the camera part and that metal and glass, you probably need to just have pre-made. But all the rest, I imagine you could just put, make it and stick it in there.
Nonso, do you have any experience with any sort of CAD software, the computerized automated design, anything like, I think there's one called like Tinkerweb, or anything that you've designed stuff with in like an engineering type format, or are you putting these things together manually, like cutting them out with your hands due to the specifications you have? Like, how do you have the planning for your devices you do? Have you ever used or heard of CAD?
I think
software?
we will need to wait for him to reconnect again. But
Oh boy.
Dowd Sheikh makes a suggestion to 3D print a drone specialized 3D printer, which I think could be done eventually. I don't know how feasible it is today. You would need to have essentially multiple layers of 3D printers in the chain of production, so to speak, to make that possible. But Nonso is back. So, Nonso, did you hear Zach's question? He was wondering if you had learned any sort of CAD software, computer-aided design for your drones or other inventions, or do you just assemble everything manually?
Yeah, I've not done anything with the CAD software.
So you haven't done that yet. That's also something that perhaps you might want to study in the future, because that could help you create devices to more precise specifications.
And it's used for 3D printing.
Yes. So the question we were asking before is, how easy is it to have access to a 3D printer in Nigeria? Are there a lot of them there, or not that many?
Not there.
Not there.
Yeah.
Okay. So you could, though, get 3D printed parts that were 3D printed somewhere else. Like perhaps there are more 3D printers in China, and you could get something 3D printed there and shipped over to Nigeria. All right. So our friend...
You know, I read an article recently where they can print magnets. They got a 3D printer that can not only print a North and South Pole, but they can print a pattern across like the top of the magnet to where it has a pattern of north south on the same side. And then you can have things where you got a cabinet here and this magnet here, and it'll pull it until it gets so far, but then stop. And so now you got like this magnetic bearing where it never actually touches, but it closes like that. I thought that was pretty neat. Can be all kinds of stuff happens with that.
3D printing of magnets. That is fascinating, and it shows that the capabilities of 3D printers have been improving. Now, our friend Vladimir says that if you want to learn about the mini drones that are used in agricultural purposes, there is specialized software that one would need to learn about. And I asked him to elaborate a bit about the software. And what he says is they actually patent some things. It's not open source software, at least he does not believe it is, and he can link you to the site. So I'm going to ask him to follow up with me on that and send me the link via email, and then I could share it. But it does seem like there are people and companies around the world who are working on drones for agricultural delivery purposes. So this is an area that has some demand and some ongoing efforts that you could learn about and participate in, perhaps, Nonso, because it is quite a promising idea. The execution of the idea is interesting to think about. So what are your thoughts about that, Nonso?
I'm interested.
Yes. So Nonso is interested, and I think if you and Vladimir both join our U.S. Transhumanist Party Discord server, you would be able to converse directly about this possibility as well. Our friend Francois Joanneau writes, there are opportunities in Nigeria just like anywhere, but just like anywhere, we need a good working economic intelligence to make those opportunities more visible to most. And I agree with that. I also think we need good communication about what opportunities are out there, what projects are out there, what people could participate in. And really, over the past several years, ever since people became a lot more connected online through generally high fidelity video and audio connections, though, of course, sometimes there are issues, but we've had more of an ability to discern these opportunities throughout the world than we have had in the past. Because previously, we would mostly be able to exchange text communications with people in Nigeria. And over quite a brief time frame, starting in early 2020, those parts of the world came online for us in a much higher fidelity manner. And I think that's just because many people throughout the world were motivated to take advantage of communication platforms like Zoom or Google Meet or StreamYard, as we're using here, as a result of the pandemic lockdowns. So I'm glad that this is happening because we're finding out about the efforts of people like Nonso in ways that would have been difficult before. So now I want to once again open up the floor to any of the panelists who have any questions for Nonso or closing statements. We have about 17 minutes left in this session. So anything you would like to ask, anything you would like to say, Art Ramon, please go ahead.
Yeah, how helpful is YouTube and other internet resources to learning more about Arduino? I mean, what is your main go-to site to learn more on Arduino?
Yes, so it looks like we may have lost Nonso again, but the question was how extensively does Nonso utilize YouTube to learn about Arduino and essentially what his main resources are. In the meantime, let's take a look at some YouTube comments. So Daniel Tweed writes, a 4D printer could manufacture things that don't exist yet. I think that was a bit of a joke about a time-traveling printer device.
Yeah. I made a 5D one yesterday, or I'm going to make a 5D one yesterday. Yeah. Made it Tuesday.
You're going to make a 5D printer yesterday. Very interesting. So we are in some temporally experimental territory here. But in the meantime, let's ask our panelists, from what you've heard from Nonso and what you've seen in the videos, what inspired you the most, or what do you consider to be the most notable? Let's see, who wants to begin?
Here,
David.
I'll start. Yeah, sure. I think the fact that he's done this all himself, he's been his own inspiration to get started, best I can tell. He's worked out how to get parts. He's worked through so much stuff. I can remember building electronic kits. I forget who said that maybe it was Dan that said that he built a crystal radio when he was a kid. Yeah, I did that too. And I built some other things, but I've never had the focus that I see in this gentleman. So I applaud him for that. And I can truly see that he is an inspiration. He's an inspiration to me. And I'd love to see him being an inspiration to those in Nigeria that can, maybe pick up, learn from him and spread this out a little bit.
Yes, absolutely. And I think his self-driven internal motivation is quite powerful, and it could lead him to achieve great things, hopefully with the kind of support that he can get from the people who wish him well. Now, who else has some comments about what inspired them about Nonso? Go ahead, Jason.
I'm curious. David said that he made a crystal radio when he was younger. Did you ever get the tuner part to work? I could never get the tuner part to work.
Well, for me, it was signal strength, Jason. So I finally found one station that I could get, and I just left it there.
Right. Yeah. Cool.
Well, yes, sometimes you figure out what you can do in a particular context, and then you emphasize that. You make the most of that rather than focusing on what you can't do. I think that's actually a fairly common approach in a lot of areas of work. So let's invite further comments while we hopefully wait for Nonso to rejoin us again. Ben, what inspired you about Nonso?
I guess I was going to ask him what were some of his biggest challenges as an inventor, and then I wondered how similar he thought those challenges would be to, say, inventors in the U.S. that had like reliable bank loans as an option for them and such things like that. So it's pretty incredible to figure things out when it's just you get what you get when you get it and do something with it. And I would be curious to hear more how he keeps managing to do that. I guess I was also curious, and maybe we have some more Taft's background too with, like, I speculate that, we in the USTP feel like the future is imminent. And then like other Americans, they might feel like, well, future's coming. They don't quite feel like it's as imminent as we do. But then I kind of figure like people where Nolly are even less thinking, oh my gosh, future is upon us kind of thing. And like, how can we ensure that the future arrives for all of us more at the same time, so that they can feel that hope there that we do here. So just some thoughts I'm having.
It's interesting you say that, because the future is going to be interesting. There's this neat phenomena happening with demographics. As Johnny was mentioning it earlier, when industrialized nations industrialize, their birth rate goes down, causes their demographics to go from like this to like this, to where there's more old people than there is young people. And throughout history, it really has never really been like that. But we're seeing in the demographics of a lot of modern nations that it's getting kind of messed up. The United States is kind of a little bit, so we'll probably be all right. But there's other countries that aren't too good, and Africa still has a lot of young people, by comparison like that. So they still have good demographics. But the demographics that we're seeing in some of these countries around the world, I don't think we've ever really seen before. Mm-hmm. And so it does not portend of good things.
Well, I think by the middle of this century, we are going to have a demographic situation where a much greater proportion of the world's population are going to be African or of African origin. And the key is actually to encourage young Africans today to pick up and develop these skills of technological innovation, because they are going to be the people to carry them forward. And they are going to increasingly also form connections with Western countries. So Nonso wants to study or work in the United States or in Canada, and I suggested he might find some good opportunities in Europe as well. But he's not the only one. there are going to be a lot of young Africans in a similar situation who are going to seek opportunities outside of Africa. And we are going to need them because, as you pointed out, Jason, generally the average age of the populations in Western countries is increasing. And so we are going to need energetic young people to fill the demographic voids. So I think making these connections now, encouraging this pursuit of technological innovation now is going to be crucial for the future. And of course, my other hope for the future is ectogenesis, so that then if we think, well, we need more young people in a given place at a given time, we could actually have them incubated in artificial wombs.
Yeah, that reminds me. Remember we asked the other guy, I think it was Zach, I forget his last name, this cool guy from Greece, when we was talking about this.
Yes,
and
Zach Varkaris.
that looked like. Yeah. And we didn't really land on it at the time, but now that I think about it, it's not going to look all crazy. It's not going to look like Matrix with, babies and bubbles and tubes and all this crazy stuff. There'll be probably like androids. I mean, we could probably, like them advanced sex dolls could probably be made to hold one of those. I mean, we could probably do it today. It won't look all super crazy unless you figure a pregnant sex doll looks crazy, I guess.
Well, but why would we even need that if we just have artificial wombs? Of course, what Zach Varkaris
that's
is
what I
trying
mean.
to do.
That's what I mean. The artificial womb would be inside the android, doll and carrying it around, and it's like your maid is carrying it around or whatever your
but that's more chance of accidents going wrong, vehicular accident. It would be safe more in a facility,
right,
where a whole ectogenesis farm would be at, if that happened.
Right, an ectogenesis facility where the incubated fetuses are protected. I
then
think
you'd have an AI
sense.
that's right there protecting the baby 24/7. I don't know, man.
So what Zach Varkaris is working on is helping women who are unable to conceive, and that includes some older women. So that could extend the so-called biological clock, and that could also help alleviate some of the demographic problems that we have been discussing. And now let us hear from Zach. Any closing comments? What inspired you about Nonso and his work?
Yeah, the Arduino stuff is neat. Putting together some of the low-level robotics ends up pulling together a lot of the concepts that you'll find in higher-level robotics. They're obviously, if he wants to really succeed, he's going to have to get involved with some kind of big firm. I think it might be hard to have as much value as a makerspace would add to one's education. I think one would need to specialize to be able to make the dough. For some reason, what comes to mind is there was a Japanese robot named Pepper that they were put out for a while, and there were like thousands of these dolls and sold out within 4 seconds when they went online. And they're about 3 feet tall. That's like 120 centimeters for those of you not using freedom units. And you could they're programmed to like sense human emotion. They would like read people's facial expressions. There's an example where one guy was in a shop with one, and he got mad at the store owner and like punted the thing. There was a Pepper robot inside, and he kind of punted it. And then people were saying, should we like sue him for assault, or should we sue him for destruction of property? And it was obviously destruction of property at that point. But it's going to be interesting when these points with robotics, when robots start to embody human likenesses more and more when we find some way to determine and have a consensus that they're conscious, if like one could be assaulted and what that's going to happen. There's going to be some interesting legal cases going on soon relating to robotics and personhood, and I really hope Nonso can put some work into that, or into the drones thing, because that drone sounds fantastic. And you've got a lot of support online. I'm sure a lot of people would love to join up and learn more about drones in agriculture, particularly. I think that's brilliant with the what Vladimir was talking about with the I think LiDAR. He meant sensing like if fruit is ripe or not. But I think there's a lot of paths he could develop from. He's at the bottom of the tech tree right now, and he can go in all kinds of directions.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Zach, for those remarks. And you certainly raised some important considerations for the future, the kinds of issues about treatment of robots, whether future robots are going to be sentient, what kinds of rights framework they should have. These are very important questions for us in the U.S. Transhumanist Party. That's why we have the Transhumanist Bill of Rights version 3.0 to hopefully anticipate those kinds of issues. And it's true, we need innovative minds, people like Nonso, to also take these issues into account and help us make progress on hopefully resolving them going forward. Now, Nonso sent me an email, and his phone, unfortunately, lost its battery charge. So he ran out of phone battery. He says, please promote my Facebook, Patreon, YouTube link to friends. Also share my email address. I would like to join any robotics or electronics engineering company. I want a better change of life this year to help my poor parents and my future. Please, you people should help me. I will also want to join the Discord. And we did provide the Discord link to Nonso. I want to post Nonso's email address, and anyone, because he agreed to share this email address, anyone who has any opportunities for him or any ways to help him, contact him at nollytech224@gmail.com. We have 2 minutes remaining. Art Ramon, would you like to offer any closing comment about what you found most inspiring about Nonso's work?
Well, definitely it's inspiring that he wants higher education, and I did too in my time. But now with the way things are going and artificial intelligence, I'm not sure that might be the best path forward. I think there's so much information freely available online, and if you're having to pay for college, that might not be the best route. So I hope he kind of looks into that some sort of non-college university route, because it's expensive.
Well, part of it's like a signaling thing, right? Like if you don't have the degree, how do you get hired with the company that gives you money, right?
That used to be the case. I think that's changing now. I think with AI, AI is going to do the heavy lifting. I think everything you can learn with, leveraging an AI is going to be just freely available online. Mm-hmm. So that would be my advice to him is rethink that college university route, because things are changing, and I'm not sure how informed he is about that in Nigeria, but in other places, transhumanist spaces, that might be an obsolete route in the future. So,
I concur. I think there are other options that Nonso could explore. John H. points out that MIT and other universities have free online courses that he could find useful. There's also Khan Academy, as Ampero points out. And Ampero also writes, we need a new way of certifying knowledge. 100%. There has certainly been a lot of thought put into that we could devote a whole salon to. And also learning for fun is an activity that Ampero recommends, that I recommend as well. Daniel Tweet points out real-world experience counts most with employers. And this is true after a little while. So a college degree can probably get a foot in the door initially, but after even a few years, actual experience on the job matters most. So we David, I will let you have the last word for 30 seconds.
Okay, just real quickly. I don't disagree with what I heard, but I want to throw one other thing out there. I pursued an additional degree on top of what I already had because I had been doing self-learning, but what I really needed was guidance on what to learn, what was important, and there's a lot of nuance when you have to essentially construct the course material yourself. So just something else to consider.
Yes, absolutely. And that guidance aspect may indeed be what Nonso is looking for in seeking university studies. Well, thank you to all of our officers for joining us today. Thank you for Nonso for his willingness to bear with us despite various connection difficulties. I think he tried, he put forth a valiant effort, and we did learn a lot from him and his work. So until next time, live long and prosper.